Maybe a fall set of wedges for you? Spice up the bag? Wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't say no. I don't know what it is about it. Everything about it feels fantastic. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today, Michael, we have a fresh batch of wedges to test.
Love some new wedges.
This is a good one. We've known about these for a little while. Taylormade MG4 Hi-Toe. Hi-Toe as a concept, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I played a 60 back in the day. I liked it. Yeah, we had the original ATV. And then there's obviously been a couple models in between, but I like the Hi-Toe, especially for that 60 or 58 for clients out of a bunker. I think it gives them a little bit of confidence too, seeing full grooves. But they've shaped up the lower stuff. The 50s and the 52s now have just a normal size, so at least it matches throughout the bag.
Okay, so obviously key thing with the new line, Mikey, 5 unique sole designs. They are all, for what looks to me, a little on the wider side of things in terms of the sole, but different configurations of where the relief occurs, whether it's at the front, whether it's at the back, whether it's in the middle, right? So we've got these all-terrain, these 5 all-terrain grinds. We've got the S, the V, the X, the C, and the W.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of options.
I think the nice thing, like you said, it's not just one sole and that's it. Like now we have the ability to fit every condition, every style of player. Obviously ATV super popular. Kind of went away, I think, at one point, and now it's back. But to have maybe the wider sole with some grinds that are sit to the turf a little tighter, maybe for the better player. Obviously something they've seen on tour that they've added to these wedges, but I like the options.
Yeah, the faces on them, we've got a couple of different versions that you guys can buy on the Taylormade site. You can go on and sort of customize it on the US site. We were trying to find it on the Canadian site. We couldn't find it, but it was certainly on the US site, the My sort of Hi-Toe configurator. So we've got the bronze finish, we've got the raw finish. Yeah, I mean, I think looking at the raw faces, very rough. We talked about that, I think, originally when MG4 came out. Lots of texture to that face, really, really aggressive. So keen to see how that is from a launch and spin perspective. This one, interestingly enough, this is our 50. I love that they've not went full groove on the 50.
Yeah, I do too, and I think because a lot of customers, or a lot of people we fit, they like the normal looking gap wedge. But if you look them in your bag, they all match, which is nice.
Totally. No, I mean, I used to think of it, these Hi-Toe clubs as specifically just a lob wedge, really. Now I don't think of that because of the sort of the evolution of the design. To be honest, looking at these wedges, kind of fanboying over them a little bit here and thinking to myself, like, I could genuinely put 3 of those in the bag.
Yeah, I like that raw finish. It's very like tour inspired shape. That 50 looks great. But yeah, a 60 degree, adding one in once in a while never hurts.
No, worth a try, especially for those of you who struggle a little bit with low point in your wedge game, maybe dig a little bit. It seems to me like the sole options, especially if you get on some trickier turf conditions, maybe some Bermuda, that type of stuff. It seems like these are really, really beneficial for those who struggle a little bit with sort of low point. Seems like they're, for the majority of the time, they're on the higher bounce side of things. It's not like they don't really say. It's not like they've got like they've got a number on them, Mikey. But if you look at the configuration of them, the number doesn't represent the sole configuration. Correct. I really want you guys to understand that. Don't pick wedges based on the bounce number. Look at it as a whole package. There's multiple things, so camber, there's radius, there's leading edge, there's the total grind itself. There's all sorts of different unique things when it comes to sole grinds with wedges. Try not to fall in love or get too hung up on, oh, that's a 12 degree, I've always played 8 degrees, I can't use that. That's not how it really works.
Totally. I think you look at this ATX 12 degree, for example, without maybe a bevel or some other grinding, people would look at it and go, yeah, it's just a high bounce. But I mean, this looks like you get it tight to the golf ball on any kind of turf, which is nice.
The one that's unique is the ATV, isn't it? With the sort of scoop out the middle. So it actually provides much less turf interaction. So you've got that sort of recessed part in the middle, which I think is for extra speed through the strike. So if you're looking and you're capable of, getting that fast little motion where you can really clip it, that's where there's tons of spin to be had in those little shots.
No, I agree.
Okay, let's start with some gap wedges. We'll look at that and see obviously if the gapper's performing as is. We've got some 56s and then we've got the full lineup of 60s.
Love it. Let's do it. Okay, 50 degree, 9 degrees of bounce. Technically in that it is ATS grind, so works for all conditions. Maybe someone takes a little bit of a divot, maybe a medium-sized divot, but again, 4-way camber on there still gives you, the ATS camber on the 60 gives you a little bit more ability to open and close the face.
Yeah.
But a good grind for a 50.
Yeah, I really like that 4-way camber. So sort of off of the middle point, the highest point in the center of the sole, it falls off in all directions. So you basically get relief in every which way. I really, really like that. I love the shape of this. I said this one's in the raw finish. We have other ones in the bronze finish. This would be my pick of the bunch, no question.
Yeah.
It looks pretty plain in the back as well. So from a customization standpoint, I think people could go to town. But this looks good. Old as I can hit one for you, Mikey.
Good start. Really good.
One and done. I thought that had a chance.
Good strike.
Light.
Maybe a fall set of wedges for you. Spice up the bag. Wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't say no. No, these are lovely. I don't know what it is about it. Everything about it feels fantastic. Like, I've been playing around with that +4 grip. Either built up these grips and stuff like that, and it's just everything about it feels, it literally feels perfect. There's 4 wraps of tape under there on a standard tour velvet. Everything about this feels fantastic.
Sounded good.
It's good.
Feels solid. Simple. All right, 56 degree ATX. Kind of good for all conditions, but maybe someone that takes a bit of a divot, maybe a little on the steeper side.
Yeah, I like the look of this one. Taylormade have this sort of, and they had it in the Tiger grinds, but they've got the kind of like 3 parts to the sole where you've got the relief on the front, you've got sort of like a narrow sort of middle part, and then it all falls away off the back. So when you open it in the bunker, you've got kind of the sole width, but you've got a little bit more bounce to use it out in the back there. I love that sort of 3 parts to the sole. So it's you basically got more shots that you can play with it. Yeah, I think of all of them, like of a sandwich, the X would be my choice, without a doubt. I use a similar bounce in the wedges I use right now, but it just has kind of heel, toe, and trail relief. But this kind of seems to have a little bit more to it.
Cool. Nice strike.
Like it. Solid.
Ooh. Plenty of spin.
Yeah, lots.
11,000 on a 105-yard shot. Spin again.
It's a lot of spin. 11,476 is a ton of spin.
Yeah.
So good on fulls. Let's go into 75 yards, Mikey. Let's hit some partials, and then we'll hit both wedges. Like I say, we tend to advise people when it comes to full shots, you're not really going to experience that big of a difference between grinds because we've got so much forward shaft lean. Most of the grind is basically up in the air. So it's not really doing that much. Maybe the front edge of these is doing a little bit more, but it's more so when you start to get the shaft a bit more vertical. All right, 75 yards, ATX. This is where the sort of money is made with these things. That one felt like a nice strike, Mikey. Kind of in that sort of 8mm low territory, which is starting to kind of get the right sort of launch and spin.
Nearly 8,000 spin on a little 75-yarder.
Yeah.
Hop, hop, and stop.
That's what you want.
Feel pretty solid?
Yeah, really solid. Really, really solid.
Really nice. Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. Yep, good. Felt like a good strike. All right, let's see what the wider sole does, Mikey.
All right, into ATW.
Yep.
More of a soft condition wedge, someone that gets a little steep on it.
Yeah, just trying to kind of like see the difference. Like it looks wider with less sort of, it looks more symmetrical in its shape. The other one had more fall off in the rear. So yeah, it looks like there is more certainly bounce up in this sort of 3/4 of the way back. Let's see. It felt pretty good.
Now, look, ATW maybe inspire a bit of confidence because the sole's a bit wider and it's not as many different grinds on the bottom.
But it's still got the three, sort of three separate sort of areas. So I think it's just, yeah, for the player who, you know, kind of hits, as we said, maybe a little early, maybe doesn't strike or doesn't control low point as much. So maybe if I just demonstrate one where, you know, it's that shallower player and maybe they're a little more into out or a little bit more sort of scoopy, add a little more dynamic loft. So I'll kind of go a little bit in that route. A little less down on that one. So I'm feeling more the sole certainly on the ground on that one. We'll see in a second, but it feels to me like the wide sole launches higher, Mikey.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with our lowest bounce in the ATC Grind.
Quite different, this one to address, Mikey. Definitely sits really, really close to the ground.
You got to dunk one of these.
One of them. I think we might have a chance with one of them.
All right, good start. Now into the 60, 10 degrees of bounce ATS Grind. All right, another degree of bounce into the ATV.
The most unique of the bunch, though, because it feels like I've had all that forgiveness taken away. Like, it feels like the leading edge is most exposed here, but obviously you've got, this is where we talk about, like, try not fall in love or get too caught up in the number, because, like, the high bounce, if you measure it relative to the leading edge, which is how we measure bounce, yes, the 11 degrees sits on this high ridge, but depending on where you sort of deliver the loft, you may have way less bounce on this one. So I'm curious about this one. I really like that last one. ATS felt like it was in a real comfort zone for me. This will be interesting. Probably felt like the best one of all of them today.
All right, ATX Grind, a little bit more bounce as well.
Definitely a little favourite of mine. I wouldn't have it in both. We never recommend having the same grind both, and I loved it in the 56. I wouldn't have it in the 60, but I do love the shape of this grind.
Okay, and last but not least, ATW, 14 degrees of bounce.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not the one I would gravitate towards. I don't think, unless I played in some really heavy sort of bunkers and some soft turf conditions. I don't think there's any which way I'd put this one in the bag. Just looks like, yeah, it just looks like there's just so much soul there. But good for some. Good for, you know, if you struggle, as we said, with that low point. Lots of forgiveness.
Good strike.
2 more of those.
Sounded a bit better.
Higher up the head. Open face. All right, guys. The 1556 is fairly self-explanatory, I think. I think that testing was more just to kind of get a sense of how do they feel, how do they transition.
Yeah.
Like, I loved how that 50 felt. That to me felt like it was just,
looks super simple.
Yeah. Ease of use through the roof. Exactly what you would want. 56 is obviously, we had the 2 options, Mikey, and the Soul Grinds, the X and the W. Like, as I stated, like, the X would be something I would really gravitate towards. W for, again, softer conditions, heavier sand conditions, etc. Yeah, from a full shot perspective, as we said, absolutely no surprises whatsoever with those at all.
Tons of spin on that 56 ATX.
Yeah, I mean, it actually doesn't even register. There's that much. It's 11,255. So I think you can always feel with those Taylormade wedges, they're, especially new, they're super aggressive.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the partials. I think this is where this test starts to get much more interesting for me, is when you start comparing the partial shots. So X and the W. Consistently for me, the W in the 50-yard and the 70-yard test, W launched higher.
Yeah.
So for whatever that's kind of, for a reason that would be, it just seemed to have more sort of launch to it.
But
Similar
prefer the
spin.
feel, obviously, of X.
Well, I think when we see the best players hit, you know, wedges, high quality wedge shots, they're not really high and floaty. They're driven and they've got some stop on them. They're not kind of going in there, kind of just softly getting there. They are just
aggressive,
you know, yeah. Much more trajectory. So this is, I think, where the test for me begins when it gets to these 60s. So we've got the low bounce, C, the S, the V, X, and the W. For me, the standout one that I kind of just thought was just ridiculously easy and would game the shape of that in a heartbeat was the S. Like, it just felt like it was just absolutely effortless to clip it low in the head, have that really nice amount of spin. I thought that was really easy. The C sat really close to the ground.
Yep.
So for players who like that or playing those tougher, tight turf conditions, I would definitely say you're going to be between probably the C and the S on that.
Sits a little bit more underneath the ball.
Yep. The V, which is the most unique one, Actually felt pretty good.
Yeah, a little higher strike for you, but
Yeah.
again, this is kind of, I would call this the OG grind when they first brought these high toes out. It was a popular one.
It definitely was. Yeah, no, I thought it was nicer than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know I would enjoy it that much. The X I actually really enjoyed as well. All here and sort of start to show that. But you can see if we, look at that smaller blue circle and the dark blue one, I mean, it's hard to, if we layer any one on top of that one. So there's the one that was the best. And these two I felt like I struggled with a little bit more. Certainly, again, W launching high, not bad for dispersion, but the S was in a league of its own.
Yeah. And that X, like you've talked about, your north-south with it could be a little bit wider than you'd like.
Yes, without a doubt. Spin variation, Mikey.
Yes, pretty tight.
Yeah, it was good. So standard deviation was the best. And I think the launch and spin, like we always talk about launch angle being about half of the degrees of loft you have on the wedge when you're pitching them in. It was just, in every which way, that one won the test.
Yeah.
It
No,
really
it
was good.
It looked very easy, which is nice.
And as you start to look at the variants, I mean, yeah, the variants in the W where the wider sole gives you a little bit more sort of surface area to navigate for someone like me. You can see there's a sweet spot, so not enough leads to problems. These two, the V and the S, pretty good. And then as you get more sole, it gets that higher standard deviation.
Good test, though. Impressive wedges. I like them. I like the look of them.
Yeah,
I think they're premium. That face obviously is super rough. Like when we're hitting obviously new wedges, but the ball is stuck to the club. So yeah, impressive. Stripping the paint.
Yeah, and I think the wedge options, the grind options across the board, I think the 5 different wedge or grind options, 17 different wedges they offer in these new Hi-Toe 4 wedges. I think there's something in there truly for everyone. We do see these being played a fair amount on the PGA Tour. It's not like the Hi-Toe wedge is designed for a higher handicap or anyone like that. There's, obviously with that muscle pad or the weight being up and pulled away from the hosel, it's designed to relocate the CG in a place where you need it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I like the standard gap wedge. I think it keeps the look in the bag the same, but gives you that more traditional look.
That one would be the one for me, in that raw finish. I could play that, no problem at all. I didn't love the bronze as much, I'll be honest, but
maybe 2 sets ordered this afternoon.
That was nice. Okay, guys, let us know what you think. The 4th generation of the Hi-Toe wedge. Are you on board? Have you never been on board? Have you tried another company's wedges that have the same sort of concept and design and fell in love with it? I always thought the Taylormade design was quite neutral from a Hi-Toe perspective. I've seen other ones. I think the early Callaway PM wedges that were designed to replicate the I2
a bit much,
pin was a bit severe and something that I can always struggle to get on board with. Some people who loved it really loved it.
Yeah.
It's quite extreme in that sense, but it was always a bit of an interesting one when you start to get into those extreme shapes. But these are doable, manageable.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. All right, guys, let us know below in the comments what your thoughts are. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you again soon.